Hi everyone, this is Navika Chauda, a cloud engineer and a Microsoft most valuable professional in developers technology. I warmly welcome each one of you to the fifth episode of Tech Chat with Navika, wherein today we would be discussing about a very vital topic which should not be ignored. That is prioritizing your mental health at workplace. And for that, we have a very prominent speaker with us today, Dr. Rinku Agarwal. Rinku is the chief evangelist at DocUX. She has more than 15 years of extensive experience working in different verticals such as HR, finance, legal, and much more. She is a TEDx speaker and a Woman Head of Finance 2022. Along with being an IIM Ahmedabad alumni, she is also a chartered accountant, a chartered finance analyst, and a company secretary. That is a lot, Rinku. And a fun fact about her that she's also known fondly as the Chief Happiness Officer. Well, I'm not going to elaborate on that title as to why has she been given that title by her friends and known ones, because I'm sure you're going to get to know about it in the episode now, because she is such a fun-loving person, and this episode is going to be pretty much lively, and I'm all set for that. Thank you so much, Rinku, for gracing my show, and that too in such a short notice.
Thank you. Thank you for such a lovely introduction. I would say I'll keep everything aside and I'll just like to keep one title with me. That's Chief Happiness Officer. I just love that thing and the way you introduced. Super awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And then let's get started with the episode.
Sure.
Perfect. All right. So when we talk about mental health in general, right? So it basically relates to a person's social well-being or emotional or maybe psychological well-being in a way, rather. Uh, and especially of when we talk about issues of mental health of an employee at workplace, it sort of gets triggered by small little events, right? For example, stress at workplace, or maybe performance pressure, or let's suppose we can say
Mhm,
office politics as well at times, right?
mhm, mhm, mhm,
And all these things,
mhm,
so we can say in a way these triggers and thus the issue of mental health of employees at workplace have
mhm.
been existing ever since years. We cannot even track that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I have realized of lately we have at least companies and organizations, they have started creating, I mean, they've started treating this as a matter of concern, right? And they have
Mhm,
started addressing this issue in their own ways.
mhm,
So my question to you is that why this sudden awareness? I mean, definitely it should have been there way back, but
mhm,
now it's coming up. Now some companies have started to act on it.
mhm.
So just throw some light on that.
Okay, so before I come to your question, why sudden awareness, I'll just take a stab on some of the history,
Hmm.
especially our culture, Indian culture, from very old times, mental well-being, was part of our culture. Just go and read the Veds and everything, yoga, meditation. What were they? They were about mental well-being. So culturally, we are we trained ourselves to be happy, to have that peace of mind, to handle pressure. We and our great grandfathers, everybody has been doing it, right? Then what happened suddenly, is modernization came up. Suddenly we became so inclined towards materialistic thing. Yeah, we know we need a BMW car or Mercedes that's going to give me happiness, or this kind of look is going to give me happiness. And suddenly, mental well-being became not so important thing for all of us, and we all shifted our focus. Then slowly we stopped talking about mental well-being. The reason was fear of being judged. Like, what if I say something? What is happening inside me? What if I talk to someone, they're going to judge me? Well, is she insane? Is he insane? So that feeling of that fear of being judged was so deeply enrooted up among us, that we started ignoring it, rather than the existence was always there, but ignorance was increasing more and more. But I'm very happy in last couple of years we saw a huge shift. And I will give lot of credit to this on social media. Then we saw a lot of companies, even in my company I saw a lot of studies. Like, it started initially with one two companies who did research and figure out why the productivity is very different in some companies compared to others. And when the root cause, why, was done, reason came out that people who are mentally very happy, those companies are doing much better. Then and those studies again created that awareness among the leaders that, okay, this is the area which we have been not focusing on. We were always focusing on process, but no, there's something else required to have better productivity. And thankfully those studies were really really helpful, and many big institutes were involved in those studies. But the final thing which really created, a buzz in entire world was COVID-19 pandemic period, where we realized, oh, each one of ever having some kind of a problem or other. It was just we were not realized again, and suddenly when we put in a box, we just realized, oh my god, there was so much inside us, and we never paid attention to it. So I think this is how suddenly this entire thing, became more aware. The research, the studies, the social media, and obviously COVID-19. But I'm very happy now that, okay, we are going back to our basics, where we gave so much importance to mental well-being, and it's time for us that we realize the importance, and let's see how world change further.
Absolutely right. And you were so on point, as you mentioned somewhere in between of your answer, that how there's different, I mean, one's mental well-being, or rather we can also call this as mental fitness, right?
Yeah.
So how that basically also affects the efficiency of our work. If we are stable at mind, we are at peace, we are calm, it's really
Hmm.
that 8 hours of our work, really we give quality work during that time, right? out
True.
out of 24 hours that we devote. And that's so true, and you were so right on that. And
Hmm.
exactly. I mean, we're going to come later on to that question also, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how people treat it as a stigma and they don't talk about it. But I've
Hmm.
kept that towards the later on part. But we're
Sure.
definitely going to have we're going to sort of dig more into it. But
Sure.
I just asked you a second your thought on this. That I think these are maybe the surveys and all they've added up to creating more awareness. Though it's still in process, I would say it wouldn't be right to say that everyone is considering this, but at least yeah, some companies and organizations have literally started with this, and that's great. I'm sure the chain is going to continue further.
Yes, and just adding to that line, right? One of the things which I've been talking when I was in HR meetings, I would always say that, not speaking about things, that will not make things go away, kind of thing. It just worsen then up, kind of, so you have to remember that you have to speak up, because if you don't speak up, things are going to be worst. They are never going to improve. So that's the shift we all need right now in this aspect.
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
and and one needs to understand that mental health is like it's like our human emotions, right? One day we can feel really high, one day we can feel low, and that is fine because these human feelings make up a human being, right?
Yes.
So these are
Yes.
human feelings. So you can feel good at some days, you can feel sad at the other days. There are certain things that can trigger you, and that is completely fine, right? We are human beings.
Yeah,
We
don't
talk
be
about
hard to yourself. Why I was 90% today, why was I was 100 like, you are human. Just understand that, and things will be like,
yeah,
don't be hard to yourself, be happy.
that's
That's the key. Yeah.
you are the example. Look, you just smile the way Rinku does, and everything's gonna be fine. I rest assure you.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So sort of moving forward with the question that like you just answered. Can you just throw some light and give us a little bit depth as to what type of mental health issues are employees facing, particularly at their workplace? Because you're so
Mhm.
much experienced and learned in this
Mhm.
field, so you can really give us good
Huh.
insight as to what type of issues, mental health issues, employees specifically face.
Most of us say, no, work is be getting stressful. That's a major line we all use, work is giving. But according to me, work is not which gives you stress. The feeling of being judged is giving you more stress. I'll ask you two examples. Okay, when you were a kid, um what would give you more stress, giving exams or waiting on that result day? what was the most stressful day, when you were giving those exams, or the day the result was 10 minutes to come or 5 minutes to come? When would you feel most stressed, uh, in both the
Yeah,
situations? Yeah.
that's a good question. I mean, when I was a child, back then, it was the result that used to give me the stress.
Huh.
But now, if you ask me, at this stage of my life, I don't think so. Result now matters to me because I've sort of detached myself with the result because that's never in our hands. I usually say like we have worked hard, but
Okay,
yeah, during
so I'll
child it
come
was
to
like
the
definitely
present
the
time.
result.
Okay, I'll come to the
Hmm.
present time now. You are working on a research paper. You have done a lot of hard work on your research. You made a nice presentation, and now you have to present it to a group of set of people and everything. Now, if you have to compare, I'm not talking about result now. Okay, I'm talking
Hmm.
about two situation. One situation,
Hmm.
you have been enjoying doing the research putting, and a situation where you have to give that presentation to people. Few of them might be known to you, few of might not be known to you, and you have to give that presentation. Which situation is more stressful? Sorry, I'm
I'm gonna
asking you a tricky
I'm gonna
question.
give a controversial answer to this, and you're gonna be Namakas playing safe. I think in general, I can give an answer to this. No, most of the people, at least I can talk. The people
Yeah.
whom I know are in general. I think for
Mhm.
them, it'll be giving a presentation. Would
Exactly,
definitely be
right?
a stress in general. But
So,
I'm talking mostly about myself. But because and the reason I'm not talking about myself here is because I have been doing that a lot since like so
yeah.
maybe that I don't take that as a stress. So that's fine to present. But yes, you're so right. In general, people do take stress out of what type of question they're gonna ask in Q&A round after we
Yes,
present and stuff. So that's
exactly.
definitely I got your
So
point.
work is all about this. We get stressed not because of our work, what your colleagues are going to say, what your bosses are going to say on that, um, how your appraisal will be done, kind of thing, how you would be rated, whether you will get the hike or not, kind of thing, whether
Yeah.
somebody gave you critical feedback in the way you wanted, or you felt it was insulting in front of others. One might feel that it's not insulting, other might feel that it was insulting, kind of a thing. So what I'm trying to say is, we all think work is the key which gives you all the stress. It's the reason behind your your
Mm,
mental stress, and no, but it is not. It is the
mm.
environment. Okay, the entire environment we create for our employees. So again, sorry, I just went little deeper into
No,
how
no,
to so
that's something I just exactly got your point. What you're saying, right?
yeah, so it is
Hmm.
all about the work environment. How
Hmm.
your colleagues treat you, how your bosses treat you, how your external stakeholders treat you, and depending on your own perception of how they are treating you, a stress is triggered. Okay, and that is why for every organization stress is different. For every profile stress, for sales people the stress would be very different, like to compare to a tech person compared to a finance person. So it
Hmm.
differs, and every organization is facing that problem. Coming to your question, so it can be anything, but what I will say, I will just give three most important reasons which I think create the biggest impact. One,
Hmm.
if the employee feel that they are not being valued and respected, that's the first thing that triggered a stress or a mental
Hmm.
issue. Second
Hmm.
is if they feel they are stuck, and they are not growing, like
Hmm.
they don't know what they are doing, like they are stuck. And third would be when they are not no clear and honest communication between the people.
Hmm.
Rest are
Hmm.
the things like salary, your designation, your promotion. There are a lot of things, but according to me, those are negotiable. Still,
Hmm.
people
Hmm.
can live with it. But the three reasons I spoke about, people can't live. You can't be in an environment where you feel you are not respected. You can't
Yeah.
be in a person where you feel I'm void. I don't know where what I'm doing, kind of a thing. If you're in that situation, your mind will go void, like what I'm doing here, kind of thing. And where there's no clear communication. So if these three things are present, rest other are still workable. So I think these are the three major reasons which triggers. Whether now communication, may you spoke about politics, right? So communication is what? Clear
Hmm.
communication is opposite of politics, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
these three reasons are the main reason which trigger stress, what I can say.
Great. Now when we if we see from an employee's perspective, right?
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
sometimes what happens is because we are just seeing that okay, now awareness is now getting created, right? It's still in the
Mm,
process. It's like what do you
mhm,
call work in progress, right?
mhm,
So employees, what happens is that even there are some employees that they even if they know right that okay
mhm,
there's some employees who are just working continuously
mhm,
right and they're
mhm,
going through these factors that you've just mentioned right and they are
mhm,
facing stress and performance issues etc etc in their work
mhm.
but they are not even aware that it's actually getting added to their
Huh.
mental fitness rather right so they're not even aware of that can you just tell some red flags
Sure.
which so that employees can be at least conscious because until and unless we become conscious then nothing can happen right you've got to be conscious and then only we can work on it so those red flags from employees perspective that okay these are the red flags that can actually contribute to my stress or whatever issue in
Mhm.
mental health as an employee so I can actually just focus on these
Sure.
at workplace.
Trigger varies from person to person. Again, as I said, from because we all are humans, no two humans are same. I'm just repeating it. It can be as simple as a chirpy person like me or like you, just getting quieter someday, speaking less, right? Or get not being active in the meeting, still performing but not participating actively, right? Or some frequent mood swings. It can be delaying office work or not trying to take up new work, but it can be reversed, the person doing excellent in office, okay, but
Hmm.
having lot of arguments at home. That person
Hmm.
might be venting out everything at home, kind of thing, not realizing that it's the office stress which is affecting,
Hmm. Hmm.
so the trigger can be anything, okay. So I would say, as you said, most of us don't even realize that we are going through this mental stress. Now,
Hmm.
how to capture these red flags at the right stage?
Hmm. Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
the friends, family, your colleagues, and your managers, plus your HR
Hmm.
manager. These
Hmm.
people have to keep a constant eye,
Hmm.
okay, that there's some behavioral change going on. And if you see that behavioral change, don't hesitate to go and talk. The only way to figure out whether it's a problem or a not, whether it's now normal or abnormal, you know is to talk and
Hmm.
figure out. If you see in your colleague, go and talk. Is everything okay with you? I see some changes, kind of a thing, right? Sometimes or just trigger it to HR, like, I think this person needs a one-to-one conversation. Why don't you go and talk? So the entire ecosystem's awareness is required here to find those red flags, because as an individual, we might fail to find those red flags, kind of thing. But our ecosystem awareness is very, very important to figure out these red flags. Okay. Um, so I would say a ecosystem awareness of change in any kind of behavioral, and having conversations around it. Any abnormal thing in personal or professional life might be a red flag. We need people to notice it and talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
basically, you mean is that a person who is maybe a person, okay, let's just keep it to maybe office, like an employee, right? Who is
Hmm.
sort of facing these little bit mental fitness issues, he might not get to know about the red flags of it, right? Because he
Yes.
is facing through it. So you mean that a company in general and the environment, which includes your HRs, your teammates, your managers, leaders, they
Hmm.
should be active in their roles, we can say in a way, right? So that they
Yeah.
are sort of keeping a check on the other employees. They can actually find out the red flag, but the one who is actually going through might not be able to find it. Right. And in
Yeah.
terms of office work, the daily activities, there's nothing that an employee, from employee's perspective, they can
Mhm.
think of that, okay, this is something that can add up to my stress. So let me just be a little bit conscious about it. Like something of
There
that sort.
there are many flags for that. If I have to give example, it can be, I'm not feeling like doing my work.
Hmm.
Okay. I'm feeling like taking an off today, even though I know there's an important project and my team is working on it. Still, I don't want to work on it, kind of thing.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
can
Hmm.
be, no, not feeling like speaking in the meetings, even though I know the solution around it. Let others figure out. Yeah, I'm not ready to speak, kind of thing. So it can
Hmm.
be any disinterest. You not feeling like working. You're not feeling like going to office. You getting Monday blues every day. It can be that
Hmm.
trigger as well, right? So
Okay.
triggers can be many when you don't feel comfortable from inside. I'll
Hmm.
say in one
Hmm.
line, if you're not feeling comfortable from inside about your work, that means
Hmm.
there's a red flag. It can be in any form. But if there's
Right.
any kind of discomfort you feel from inside, it's time for
Hmm.
you to just take a help. So
Got it. Got it.
yeah, yeah.
When you don't wish to get up for your work the next day, like get onto your work rather the next day,
Mm.
I think
Mm.
that's a sign, sort of a thing, right? So, and that on regular basis. I mean, once in a blue moon, it's fine.
Okay.
That you too. You just answered previous answer. You just mentioned about hesitation, and you spoke about it earlier as well in the first answer, where I said we talk about it later on.
Mm.
Um, that's what, right? People in general, when we talk about mental health issue, people, especially for employees, right? They hesitate to talk about it, and still many people consider it as a stigma to talk about it. Why?
Yes.
Because maybe employees think that way, that people are going to think that, okay, his efficiency of the work is going to affect, or maybe he
Mm.
is sort of imperfect and he is not perfect, or maybe
Mm.
he is weak, so
Mm.
maybe people just think about such things, that let's not talk about our mental health issue, like mental health issue at workplace. Why? Because it's gonna make our leaders, or our company feel as if we are weak, and we're not in the correct state of mind, etc., etc. And that is the reason I think it has sort of been stigmatized in a way, right? Talking
Yeah.
about this should not be the case, and this is again from the employees perspective. They don't talk about it, because unless and until you talk about it, nothing is going to happen, right? As you
Yeah.
just correctly mentioned a couple of minutes back. Do you want to throw some light on what's your sort of opinion on that?
Um. Okay. So I know people are not comfortable about talking about what is going on their mind. Obviously,
Correct.
as I said in the beginning, there's a lot of fear of being judged. What if I lose a job? What if
Hmm.
they start giving me less assignment when they come to know? What if I don't get a promotion because of it?
Hmm.
Because they
Hmm.
know people will be judged. But I'll just go to the root cause of this before I come to the a solution and anything else. Again, I'm going to your school days, my school days back, kind of a thing. Okay, there was not even one school chapter which taught that how important the mental well-being is, right? You go to offices, same thing happens, right? So I think we have to change our core. The reason is not it's just happening in office and will be judged over there. The thing is, we, from the school to colleges to offices to homes, everywhere the awareness is totally missing, right?
Hmm.
In offices specifically, now I'll come to that. We have to start that we start the topic of mental well-being as leaders started. Leader come and talk to entire company
Hmm.
teams about
Hmm.
that. Look, for me your mental well-being is more important. If you have anything, come to me. Like giving their own example, I go through stress all the time, this is how I deal with. In case you are having anything, come and talk to me. So when leaders start talking about this in the companies, it will not no more be a stigma, because people will think, oh, it's normal to talk about. Look, my leader was talking about his mental stress, so even, or his or her mental stress, so I can also talk about my mental stress, because it's normal. So we have to normalize it, you know
Hmm.
so how can we normalize it? It can be uh, you know like as I said, leaders making it, talking about it. We can make it you know uh, we can have a lot of sessions, we can have HRs talking about it. We can have, just give an example, like you have an I'm just going very different, giving example. The way
Hmm.
you have your appraisal quarterly reviews, right? Why can't companies have a mental health checkup or mental session, or a well-being session being conducted compulsory for the employees?
Hmm.
It can be kept confidential and everything, but companies has to focus on that aspect. They have to understand that you know that is a work expect we have to work in. Or according to me, stigmas, you use the word stigma.
Yeah.
According to me, there's nothing called stigma. It's just a thought of not seeing things as a usual thing. So there's nothing called stigma. As soon as you make things usual, there's no stigma involved. So it's just that right now, it's not usual and we have to make it usual, and the stigma thing, or it will go and people will feel comfortable. um, and the only key to is talk more awareness,
Mm,
and uh, making people comfortable that if you're talking about it, you're not going to lose your job, you're not going to lose your promotion. We want you to speak because we can help you. Just I can give, I can assure you that if a person is going through a bottom of the career, of the mental, sorry, a mental state, going through a bottom, at that time a company supports that person and helps, the person will bounce back. And when this person bounce back, now this person would be your greatest asset in a company, and this person will be a, a kind of a, how to state, a loyalty torch bearer for the company, like that
okay.
this company will
Sense.
support you, when you're down, the company will support, the person will never leave your company. Okay,
Hmm.
the person will make sure when others come, the person tells the story that, look, I had this mental issue, company supported me, and it will give comfort to others also who are coming new. So that awareness, that comfort, just support one, and it sets example
Hmm.
for 100. So
Correct.
that thing has to come very very natural, and stigma will go away when companies
Hmm.
don't that take extreme actions of link, not supporting people at that lows, and taking
Yes.
actions against them. Things will go away, and talk for more frequent about it.
Correct. Correct. I mean,
Yeah.
as I just mentioned, like, and as an employee, we spend our, employees basically spend their active hours working in the company, right? And most of the time just goes in the company work only, like 5 days a week,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's like they become a sort of second family in a way, right? You're sort of
Yes.
interacting with them and all. And if an employee gets support from them during that low phase, definitely, I think that's going to be a big support system then, right? And it's really going
Yeah.
to sort of help him or her come out of that phase very quickly.
Very quickly.
And that's exactly what you said, and I just agree to your point, second that thought. um,
Yeah.
now I think we have spoken on a lot many topics, and sort of just thinking in like the factors
Yeah.
that basically affect, how can employ basically the red flags we have spoken about, right, in general, and about the awareness and all. And as now we come towards the conclusion of the episode, one thing that I've seen, that company plays a very important, a crucial role in all of this, right? I have seen companies. I mean, for example, it's like for example, many companies have gymmings, right? Like gyms
Yeah.
and gymming
Yeah.
sessions, right? And there's then some companies have these regular, very informal talk sessions and all. So basically, I
Hmm.
think these all things also really help in sort of making the employee pretty much comfortable and having that personal talk with them. And these are like some initiatives. Do you maybe add on to this list that what type of initiatives, such initiatives, companies can take, because I think that can be really fruitful
Sure.
and
So
all.
first, the examples which you stated, informal talks, or companies do a lot of fun activities. But trust me, um, that these fun activities, there'll be always two kind of people, introverts and extroverts kind of thing. Even extroverts, if you bring them in these talks and everything, they might not speak at all. So so these are good to give a break from the stress, but these are not good to take away the stress or make people speak about the stress. You are like, I might be having a coffee session with 10 people, and we'll be discussing common interest, the way coffee session or a group coffee session are done. People will learn from each other, people will share their stories, but would they be comfortable enough to talk about the mental stress they are going through? No.
Mm,
Okay, none of these initiatives can help in that way. So the way company has to think is something out of the box. you know when I said, like, having these um, you know uh, I think some kind of assessments every quarter to figure out
okay.
how happy the employees are, and
Mm,
they should be confidential enough, kind of thing. Figuring out what are the practices which are making people unhappy in their organization, and then working on those initiatives, kind of thing. Talking openly once they figure out, okay, this is the problem which everyone has stated. Doing open houses, kind of a thing, talking to people, like, look, we figured out these are the problems in our culture. or the way we are doing it, we are going to work on it, because it will take time to bring those changes, but the assurance that we are working on this change will also help to release that mental stress. Okay,
Okay.
what I'm trying to say, just I have four problems with the company's culture or the way things are done. Now
Hmm.
today I tell you that these are the four problems. Obviously these will take a lot of time to solve, but what if I put given assurance to you today that look, we know now these are the problems, and we are going to work it on it, and in a due course of time, and you have an immediate relief kind of thing. So openly talking about that these are the problems we have figured out, companies should
Mhm.
frequently do it. you know
Hmm.
uh, Secondly, uh, there should be a compulsory counseling sessions. In India, we really think that if you are going for a counseling session, there's really something wrong with you. But imagine if I make it compulsory from the company side, boss, you have to do it before your appraisal kind of thing. It will become normal because it's part of a process. So how can
Hmm.
you make it normal is like simple as wearing a helmet kind of a thing. Till the time police did not say you'll going to get a fine, people were not wearing it and on two-wheelers kind of thing. So how can you make it compulsory, that making it a part of compulsory that you have to undergo one session every quarter kind of a thing? Can we
Hmm.
make it common for every company, for every individual? Because each, agree or not, each one of us faces some kind of mental stress. We can say, I can right now say, I always say I'm the happiest person on the planet, I say I'm very happy, but all 365 days of the year, probably 1 2 hours I might also face that kind of a thing, or probably
Yeah.
every one of us, because as I said, we are humans. So how can we make it normalized? In schools, as I said, we should make it a part of the thing. But in offices, what if I make it as a compulsory session
Hmm.
where people need to talk? Because in common sessions, people will not talk. Okay,
Hmm.
people will
Hmm.
not talk. We'll have to give them space where they can introspect and talk. After that, yes, lot of there are a lot of good professional these days who are doing sessions, group session, where
Hmm.
they educate that these are 10 that, as you said, these are the 10 symptoms, which means there's something wrong with you kind of thing, and you need to
Hmm.
work. So such kind of educational session where we create awareness, if these are 10 ticks, anything is happening, you need help. And it's done at a group level, or at a company level, where awareness is spread and people can relate, oh, this is my problem too. Does that mean I need to take a help? So these kind of sessions would also help. But most importantly, happiness is a perception. We have to understand that. Okay,
Yeah.
and you have to make your employees feel valued. Okay,
Hmm.
you have to make them feel you are very important, you are an asset, and trust me, that happiness will come. The reason that I said, like, when I was named as chief happiness officer, when I used to go for onboarding session or one-to-one session, people used to feel that, okay, um, somebody want to hear me out, somebody thinks that I'm an asset to an organization, somebody in this organization values me. As soon as you have those feeling, now half of the stress will go away. So you have to value your people.
So
True.
that's pretty much insightful, and I ended up learning so many things from this entire episode. Any signing off statement or something that you wish to say, and then maybe we can just wrap up.
Sure. I would just say that, let's take small steps. It's not only the company's responsibility, it's responsibility of every individual to work on this aspect. So
Hmm.
if we don't wait for others to initiate it, and
Hmm.
we start on our own. For example, if I cannot do a company level initiated, I have a small team of 3 people, let's start that at that small level kind of thing.
Hmm.
Don't wait for changes to happen at a big level.
True that. That is so true. And something that even I would like to just say towards the conclusion is that we can, instead of saying mental health, rather we can also say mental fitness, right? For
And
example, we
happiness, yeah.
happiness, right? For example, we keep ourselves physically fit. We go to the gym, right? We work out. Now, some
Hmm.
days if we don't feel like working out, we don't say that we're not physically fit. Of course, we are physically fit, but that's just one bad day, and our body just doesn't feel like doing these push-ups and weighing heavy stuff, and that's completely fine. But still, we call ourselves mentally fit, right? Physically fit, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, we can say mental fitness as well. Some days you can feel high, you can feel low. That does not mean that you're not mentally fit. You are absolutely mentally fit. But it is just that it's human emotion. It's
Yeah.
human feeling. These are all natural things that happen. But it's what's the after this entire episode, what we can conclude is what I have understood is that
Mm.
we should just be aware of it, we should be conscious of it, and we should speak it out. We should not treat it as a stigma, we should not hesitate speaking about it, because
Mm.
only when we are conscious about it, only when we are creating awareness about it, that
Mm.
is when we can actually start working on it. And if we do
True.
not say anything about, then how will we even start working on it, right? And it's
Yeah.
it's nothing such a big of a thing. It's just that small steps, as you just said, can actually help you out in a from a big picture. So that's how it is entirely. And thank you so much, Ritu, for gracing my episode. And it was so insightful. Believe me, it was so informative and educative for me. And I'm 100% sure whoever is gonna hear this, because they would be able to relate to it, and it's going to be pretty much insightful for them as well. And thank you so much once again for taking out your precious time and yeah, being here on the episode.
Thank you so much for calling me. And just to add, being a finance person throughout my career and now talking about this, it was a pleasure moving from that side and speaking on that side of a human. And I am this entire conversation was really really good. And all the best for your coming episodes. And I learned a lot from you today. So thank you for calling me over this episode. Thank you so much.
So much. There could be no one better than you. You recall, right? You're the chief happiness officer. So there's just one chief happiness officer, and that is Rinko, and we had to be on this episode. No one else, definitely.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.